one day in college, I was walking to class with a friend of mine. As we walked through campus, an elderly gentleman approached and he said, "Hey Zach, how's it going?" I was like, "Oh, hey Chris, how are you?" My friend looked at me and said, "Who's that?" It's like, "Oh, that's Chris Denninger, the director of campus safety." My friend looked at me and was like, "Why are you on a first-name basis with the director of campus safety?" Well, it turned out I worked tech support in college, so I'd fixed his computer probably about 1,000 times. That guy owed me quite a large number of favors. But the thing is, Chris was not an abnormality. I was on a first-name basis with most of the administration at my school, and honestly, most of the students as well. And the thing is, when I moved to Seattle, I was able to replicate that, and I became very, very well known very, very quickly in a lot of different circles here as well. But here's the thing. I'm actually kind of shy. I'm an extrovert, but not a very good one. I was never a natural networker or social person, unlike my mom, who could strike up a conversation with a brick wall. So how did I go from this honestly really quiet, not very social person to someone who was known by just about everybody? Well, we've got 3 pretty simple rules that I want to share with you guys tonight. When I came to Seattle, I actually moved here for a girl. Not many people know that. Yeah, there she is. And so when I moved here, she was really the only person I knew. And I knew I needed to really jumpstart my network and go meet a bunch of new people. And I looked around and I realized there was an Ignite Seattle event coming up. And I knew that the audience at Ignite is full of the smartest, most amazing, most fascinating people in the whole city, right? So I knew that'd be a great place to go, but I still had a problem. How would I know who to talk to? Look around, there's so many people here. How would I know who's interesting and relevant for me to talk to? Well, I figured the organizers would know. So I showed up and was like, "You guys need any help?" And Brady was like, "I don't know, can you work a projector?" I was like, "I can figure it out, I'm a smart kid." And then at that single event, I ended up meeting someone who got me my first job in Seattle. I ended up meeting my entire friend group in Seattle for 3 years. And I was eventually invited to join the inner cabal of Seattle and help organize the event of Ignite Seattle. So that's rule number 1. That's rule number 1. Show up just because. You never know what's going to happen. A little while later, I was reading a lot of a website called Hacker News. It's kind of like a Dig or a Reddit, but for tech and entrepreneurship types. And I read a lot of the website, and I noticed that other cities had Hacker News meetups, but Seattle didn't. And I thought, well, that's dumb. So I posted a thread, and I was like, "Hey, show up at this time, this place, and we'll see what happens." And a couple days later, 85 people showed up to the second floor of Cafe Vita. We had founders and CEOs, we had developers, we had researchers working on subaquatic autonomous vehicles. It was an awesome crowd. And after that, I had 23 more events that I ran. And at every event, I met the most amazing companies, and I talked to the most interesting speakers, and I got to stand up and introduce myself in front of 150 people every month. And so that's rule number 2. Have people come to you. If you make something interesting and something that's cool, people will come to that thing, and then you're there and associated with it, and then you're pretty cool by comparison. Not by comparison, by transitive property. And that leads us to rule number 3, which is generate attention to the interesting things that you do. So many people do really cool things, but whether it's because they're shy or humble or they just don't think anyone else is interested, they don't tell anyone about it. When I went to my first tech job in Seattle, I didn't really know where the tech companies were, so I found a list and I made a map of just physically where all the companies were. It took like 4 or 5 hours, but at the end of it, I was like, other people might get kind of a kick out of this. So I emailed GeekWire, and they posted about it. And over the course of a day or two, there were like 5,000 or 6,000 hits to my website. And I had 2 job offers by the end of the week, which was definitely not what I expected, but it worked out because I drew attention to the cool thing I did. So to recap, we've got 3 rules. Rule number 1 is show up. You never know what'll happen. Rule number 2 is have people come to you. And rule number 3 is generate attention to the interesting things you do. My name is Zachary Cohn, and when I leave here, I want to leave you with one more rule, which is always make an exit.